Nacho, am I talking weird again?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I'll let you know.
Cool. So,
now you're
so I guess we'll, I hope that was fun for everyone. So that was pretty demonstrative of what the format will look like. The actual format is not involved that yet, so you guys can relax for this half of the show.
but I think some of the idea is trying to represent what that would feel like, but on a proper stage and without being. Yeah.
But anyway, now on to someone who can talk with much more expertise about this format, which is our Skype guest for tonight, Carla Cackowski.
Yeah!
Carla is a veteran teacher and performer from Second City, LA. She is one half of the duo Orange Tuxedo with Craig Cackowski, her husband. That's them right there. It's actually very cool. It says oranges and tuxedos at the top. And they perform the close quarters format, a two-person version of the close quarters. Maybe they run around the theaters. And she's a host of a really great improv podcast called Improv Jack.
Really great.
There's some really great episodes up there, so I definitely recommend checking it out. And now she's in Portland running the Curious Comedy Theater. So we're going to give her a call.
Yeah! So this is the part where we go through like technical difficulties. Hopefully not many this time. So we'll see. This expert is sponsored by FaceTime. FaceTime is not giving any money to this show.
Hello?
Can you hear us?
Guys? Uh-oh. Is this okay?
Can you hear us?
Oh, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you
Great.
hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
Perfect.
Welcome to Berlin.
I've never been to Berlin.
Wow.
Thank you so much for making this so easy.
So thank you so much for joining us to talk to us about close quarters. And also I should say that I had Carla as a teacher once for a intensive, so she's really good.
Yeah, you were so sweet when you emailed and you were like, I don't know if you remember me. And I was like, of course I remember you.
That's very so sweet.
But anyway, I guess we'll get started.
Yeah, so just to put you up to speed, now you're sitting in the audience, right, in the middle of the audience, and the audience just went through a little bit of a like demonstration of like the close quarters, but they don't really have like a clear like foundation on the form itself. So I think that would be kind of the first question, like what is close quarters form?
Okay, great. So, well, that's a complicated one again. but it is why I'm here, so I'll do my best. So the version of close quarters that Craig and I do, my husband and I do a two-person show called Orange Tuxedo, is actually a simplified version of the original version that Craig did back in the 90s in Chicago. And so basically it's one location with as many different characters as possible in that one location. That is the simple answer to what you just asked.
Great. And so, from what I also understand, all the scenes that you see, they're all happening at more or less the exact same time as well? That's part of it?
Exactly, yes. So all within the same time and the same location. And so in the original version, there were 8 improvisers. And so what they were attempting to do, from what I understand, is if they had a 45-minute show, all of these characters would somehow interact within 15 minutes of time. And they would do that through adjacent spaces in one location. Yeah. Yeah.
So basically, when you say what is a good location? Let's say like it has to
Okay.
have some.
So like a mall, for example, if you got mall as your suggestion, maybe you would see a father and his son shopping at the Gap for t-shirts. And then you would see 2 teenage girls in the restroom getting ready because they're about to meet their boyfriends in the food court. And then you go to the food court and maybe you'd see those guys waiting for the girls. And then you try to find a variety of relationships is something that Craig and I talk a lot about. So if we've seen maybe a familial relationship like father-son, then maybe let's see coworkers. Maybe let's see the janitors who are working at the mall and are hanging out in the basement, getting high before they're
So basically, like in each of the scenes, you emphasize relationship. That's kind of
Yes.
like the aim.
Yeah, and so the reason Craig and I wanted to do close quarters is because the form really does rely on relationship dynamic. So it's how these 2 people feel about each other and exploring that idea as opposed to a plot. And close quarters is so great in that sense because it really does focus on point of view and emotion and why these 2 characters are sharing time and space at this moment. And so in our version of Close Quarters, Craig and I, we, depending on how much time we have, but usually we play 3 to 4 2-person scenes with adjacent locations, adjacent spaces in the location. And then we'll visit those people 3 times throughout our show. And hopefully by the end, we found a natural reason for the different couples to come together, and by the end we have a group scene with all these people coming in and out of the room, connecting, and we realize why they're in that space together.
Is there
Is the goal.
with that in mind, is there a particular area that you try to bring them to? Do you try to bring them to the first location you see, or just organically whatever ends up working the best?
You know, it's different for every show. So, yeah, so like one time we were doing a bakery and we had like cops out front in their car. We had some of the bakers in the back. We had 2 food critics in the restaurant, and by the end, we tried to just get them all in the dining area or the eating area. But that's not really anything we talk about or plan. It's just kind of, I guess, what makes the most sense in terms of why these people would come together. Another time we did a cabin party, and
what's a cabin party?
so like a cabin in the middle of the woods.
Okay.
And these teenagers were having a party there.
Got it.
And so that was actually a little trickier because it was a bunch of teenagers, so there were similar relationships. But we were trying to find variations. So one of the teenagers, her dead grandfather visited her, and so Craig was playing a ghost. So that was our variation on the relationship. So we just didn't see a bunch of teenage relationships again and again.
That's actually a great lead into the next question that I have, which is that, do you try to stick to a sort of more realistic playing style, or do you guys let yourself follow whatever you find funny in the moment?
Yeah, I think it is that. I would love to say that we are always doing grounded relationships, but I think what ends up happening is that we, even if it is a ghost, or recently we played 2 trolls living under a bridge, even if it is that, we do still try to find some sort of real emotional dynamic between the 2 people, but sometimes it gets a little silly, yes. And that's been, again, not planned. It's just kind of how we feel that night and where it goes.
Regarding what was like the original form, we read a bit about it. Like there's this concept of instead of having callbacks, having throw forwards or
Throw forwards.
Throw forwards. Could you explain that for the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that Craig and I actually don't do in our form, but when I worked on close quarters with other groups, bigger groups, like 6 to 9 people, this is a really fun technique from the original form. So for example, if the first scene is taking place, let's say it's, outside of a school, and it's 2 kids talking about homework. You might hear one of the players off stage yell something totally unrelated to the 2 kids talking about homework. And then maybe 3 scenes later, that person who yelled that thing off stage, so maybe it was something like, I love orange juice. Then you see that person as the teacher, talking to the cafeteria lady, and she's so excited that she screams, I love orange juice, in the middle of their scene. So the hope is that the audience then understands, oh, that was something I recognized from earlier, and now they're showing us why she said that off stage.
Cool.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So then you're doing this, and then you're justifying why that actually happened in the next scene. And
exactly. So, and that's also, it's also showing the audience those 2 things were happening at the same time. Because obviously you don't come out at the top and say, hey, we're gonna, all these scenes are happening at the exact same time. Don't forget that. It's really important that you remember that. Of course, you don't say those things, right? Any kind of clue or reminder that you can give the audience, oh, by the way, don't forget, this scene is happening at the same time of all the other scenes you've just seen, but prior to it.
It also seems like a very fun element, or a challenge even, to throw out something that you have no idea what the context is, and then
absolutely, yeah. That's a really fun part of it. And then it can also work with a walk-on, if somebody just walks through the background saying something that is totally unrelated to what's happening on stage at that moment, and then 3 or 4 or 5 scenes later, that person comes in having just said it, or sets himself up to leave as if they're going to go say it. I think a good example is if somebody's looking for someone. I saw it done once where a woman was looking for her son. So she came in and she was yelling his name, and then a few scenes later we saw her looking for him. So connected.
Okay. Also regarding, so you say this from forward is a way of reminding people that these scenes are happening at the same time. Also, I imagine in a way it's reminding them that they are happening in the same location, and that the fact that one scene can be heard throughout space in a different sub-location. And
absolutely.
We also read, and maybe we'll play a little bit on that, on the idea of using sound effects and atmospheres for scenes. Could you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, I think the idea with the sound effects, and again, this is all, I'm getting this all secondhand as well, but I have talked to a lot of the original players about their experience. And so from what I can gather in the original formation of this, the idea for sound effects was that they be natural. So it's not used to distract, it's used to just enhance the environment. And so if an alarm is going off really loudly in the first scene, and then 3 or 4 scenes later we hear the alarm, but it's half the amount in terms of loudness that it was, then it helps us figure out the floor plan of what we're doing. So maybe the room that we saw in the first scene was right outside where the alarm was, and then the room that we see in the fourth scene when it comes back and it's not as loud, maybe that's further away. And so I think that that's really cool and incredibly challenging. But when it's done well, it's very impressive. And it really gives not only the audience, but also the players a sense of the floor plan of their location.
I'm curious because we also read that a lot of the format was developed around character heightening in particular. And I'm curious, when you and Craig do it, do you guys find yourself heightening the characters as you circle back around, or do you try to honor just the reality that you establish each time, picking up where you left off?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's something that Craig and I have been talking about a lot recently. We were finding that when we were coming back to the characters in the second round, that some of this, it just didn't feel like there was any like movement in their dynamic, so any heightening really. And so we've been really focusing on trying to make sure that we still honor who they are as people and their points of view, but to find things to make, to raise the stakes, to add emotion, so that it doesn't just feel like, oh, we've already seen these people and you're just doing the same thing that you did the first time you saw them. And we do that through, I mean, there's a lot of different ways, but we talk a lot about taking everything really personally and being affected deeply in that second round of scenes. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. I'm curious also, so you had mentioned that Craig was one of the people who had been on the original cast of Post-Credits. What
Yes.
led you and Craig to start doing it again as Orange Tuxedo?
Did you say when?
Yeah, well, what led you and Craig to doing it?
What led? Well, we were doing a mono scene and we were just, it was fun, but we wanted to play more characters, I think. And then we also wanted to try a form. And lucky for us, he knew this form pretty well already. Again, we don't do a lot of the techniques, the sound effects. We do sound effects, but not in the same way necessarily. So we just tried it one night. And we were just like, let's just try this. We'll do 3 two-person scenes. They're all going to be in the same location. And we had so much fun. And at the end, everything connected, and it felt really satisfying. And so now we've been doing it for almost 2 years. And we found ways to go deeper with it. And again, it's all about relationship dynamics. So we're just constantly talking about relationships that we haven't done yet, and trying to challenge ourselves to not always do the same type of relationship, Even if we do a married couple, a couple shows in a row, trying to find the specifics of that married couple so that it feels unlike anything we've done before. And I think both Craig and I really love character work, and for us, just exploring why 2 people care about each other, why they're there, and why the audience should care about them, this form really lends itself towards that kind of work.
I have a small question, do you like, actually, Carla was asking about making characters a bit more unrealistic. Do you like that as a challenge? I've seen sometimes with the few shows I've seen, you guys on the internet, that sometimes it seems like you go a bit further just for the challenge to grounding that back to reality, to relationship.
Yes, it's funny because Craig and I are married, so there is this element of wanting to get as far away from that real relationship as possible. So I think we really do kind of take bigger leaps in that sense, because it's like, man, I was just with you all day yesterday. We just hung out, we watched TV, we had dinner. Okay, let's be crazy and let's have a good time together. So yeah, I don't know if you've seen Dasariski, which is his other group. It's a three guy group, and they tend to play more rounded relationships, I think, than maybe Craig and I do. So for whatever reason, I bring out that silliness in him, and I think he just enjoys kind of going further with me in that direction. Also, we have no boundaries with each other. So there's lots of me, I want to curse, I won't.
You're totally trying to.
It's fucking Berlin.
Yeah, very good. All right. Thank you.
It's also an audience, and I forgot to mention this in the email, it's only 12-year-olds.
So nothing but fuck from here on out. Yeah, so I just like to fuck with him. I like to make him uncomfortable in ways that I wouldn't necessarily push another improv player, because I would, be more respectful. I know I can get away with more, so I, will do things like stick my fingers in his mouth, tickle him in inappropriate places, and we can just get away with it because it doesn't matter, because we're married. So, yeah.
That's really cool. Should we open up?
Does anyone in the audience have a question?
Maybe someone from that class.
Maybe some of the
As
students.
I mentioned,
Take it
you know,
grounded
we
play.
teach it here. One of our classes, which is a grounded play class, we use the close quarters as one of the teaching.
Oh, great.
So, anyone have a question?
I have a question, you guys.
Yep.
Yeah, come on up.
Come up.
Hello. I'm just curious about a narrative. It always seems, we've only been practicing it for a little while, but it always seems to creep in there. I know it's not supposed to be the focus. I'm just curious if you have any advice on how to keep a distance from that.
Yeah, I think there's a few things. Did he run away? Hey, sit down. I think that if you find yourself focusing on the plot, talking about the future, or talking about what you're doing, and I say this to my students in all different structures and any kind of improv, always go back to just how you feel about the person. And even if it's just as simple as saying, I really feel fill in the blank, that does wonders for me in terms of shaking plot out of it. That's the first thing. The second thing is there's sometimes pressure with close quarters because you are in the same location and these characters might be interacting at some point throughout the form. There is kind of this pressure of like, we have to wrap this up in a nice bow so that the audience feels like they saw a story. And I think just take that pressure off yourself and just know that if you are in a scene with somebody and you care about them, and you can think about it like, this is the most important person in my life right now, whether you hate them or you love them, that will get you away from that pressure of having to create a bullshit story that nobody's going to care about when they leave.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, one more question. Come on.
Coming to the hot seat.
Hi.
What's kind of one of the most challenging situations that you've had to do the scene in, and how do you cope with those locations that just seem like impossible to have different things going on?
Okay, say that again.
What's like one of the most challenging locations that you've had to do?
Oh, locations.
Yeah, and then like how do you cope with those locations that seem impossible to do a whole piece in?
Great. So I think that church was the most challenging that we've had so far. And it wasn't a great show. It was an okay show. Because we did get wrapped up in what kind of church is this? Who are the type of people that would be at this church? And we weren't on the same page. And so what we learned from that show was sometimes it's okay to do the obvious thing first. And what I mean by that is I think we were putting a lot of pressure on ourselves to make it unique and to get away from the church or the religious element. But by doing that, we were thinking too hard. And so it felt very manufactured. And so sometimes if you get a hospital, just go straight to the emergency room. Like, if that's the first thing that pops in your head, it's probably the first thing that pops into the audience's head. And then all you have to do is make that relationship specific to who those two people are, as opposed to putting the pressure on, like, making it interesting or whatever. So church, yeah, church is my answer.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you so much, Carla. I think that's all the time we have. But like you said, you're gonna hopefully we can get orange tuxedo here. Yeah. Well, you have space to play for sure.
Thank you. Well, you guys, best of luck with everything. And if you guys have any questions to follow up with, Trevor has my email, so feel free to shoot me an email. And I'm just so excited that you guys are doing this. It's amazing. And thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
All right, so Antonia Bear. Peter. Marisa. It was Peter Tablet,
He's like a chair. He's just that.
Okay, yes. This is us. We're going to do close quarters or something resembling to a close quarters.
And since Carla talked so much about locations, can we get a location suggested, something non-specific, you know, like she said church or hospital, something not those things, different. Christmas market.
A Christmas market.
This is a really good idea. I think my immigrants will really appreciate you opening up and getting everything ready to stand.
Of course. I mean, I kind of wanted So, like, is Christmas your favorite holiday?
Well, I love it, yeah. And, well, it's tradition, you know, the tent and whatnot, my parents have run, so I usually am back here all over, so like,
Jeremy, come here, boy. Come here, boy.
Well, I think it's really cool because, you know, sometimes, I don't know, it's just nice.
What do you like? What do you think of Miss Dacus, like Matt?
I think that she's like really mean.
Yeah. Oh, I think so
Yeah,
too.
like she thinks you're supposed to understand all the things she says, but how am I supposed to just understand that?
Oh my God, like yeah,
It's
calculus.
so complicated.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you think like the same thing I do.
You know, when she'll draw.
Happy New Year.
You know, when she'll draw all those graphs on the board, sometimes I feel like my head is just turning and twisting.
Yeah. And you know what?
But
I hate
I think it's one thing that we definitely have.
What are some other things you're doing?
You like the color blue, and I like the color teal, which is a derivative.
Is teal your favorite color?
Yeah. Is blue your favorite color?
Yeah. Sorry.
Are you writing down what my favorite color
I
is?
don't want to forget.
Another round.
Cheers! What? Mulled wine, bro.
I can't.
Cheers.
Slowly.
Good tidings to you, mate. That was weird.
Look, I might be your manager, but I'm not your king.
So we're ready to sing some carols or what?
No. Not yet.
Jeremy, come here, boy. Come here, boy.
I want to talk to you a little bit about
That'd be
team. About our team. I see you ogling Markville. Okay. Now you might be in where I might be in. But I don't want that to come between us.
Hot potato mom. All in the mom.
Hot potato mark. Is that what you call her? Let's call her. You're calling her hot potato mark?
Hot potato mom.
Why?
She's got hot.
Wish you a Merry Christmas.
And Happy New Year. Served up that hot potato.
Is that a euphemism for something?
No, it was a big potato.
Oh. So when you call her hot potato Martha, it's because of an actual hot potato?
Yes. That one time.
So I could call you like mulled wine
Well, what? Jimmy!
Jimmy. I knew that.
Feels so fun.
Oh, man. I don't think it rolls off the tongue.
Let me be clear about mom. I love her.
Okay.
And she will be my wife.
You're new to the team, mulled wine Jimmy. I'm glad we had this meeting out here.
It's Christmas color, and you see the lights. I think it would be jolly.
Ow! Hot! Hot!
It's lovely.
Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? Huh? Who's a good boy?
Does he like wearing the amethyst?
I don't know. That's a weird question to ask, right?
I know some animals sort of hate it when you dress them up, some like it.
It's cute. It's cute. He's
Yeah,
not
it's-
complaining.
it's-
Are you complaining? Are you complaining, Mr. Rudolph? Huh? Are you complaining? Wait. Jeremy! Jeremy! Come here, boy! Come here, boy!
Ooh.
Maybe he's complaining.
I think he really likes that necklace.
I'm not sure the children should see this.
Wish you a Merry Christmas.
Oh, so nice.
Wish you a Merry Christmas. Glad tidings we bring to you and your king. And a happy new year.
Well, you take care of that dog. I gotta get back to the hot potatoes. I just want to make it clear I wasn't accusing you of mistreating this. I think it was adorable.
I just feel like everybody in this neighborhood hates me, you know?
What?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Like, you're just like saying things that just like hurt my feelings.
That was absolutely not my intent. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I love you. I love Jeremy. I think he'll love Jeremy.
I'm so happy you said that.
Maybe just, you know, keep it.
Maybe that was inappropriate.
No,
Just sorry.
no,
I'm so sorry. I'm so used to people hugging my dog, and I just feel like lift that. It's okay, no pressure.
I don't really,
I mean,
I do.
maybe it's not the right season. Maybe it's just not the right season. Sorry.
No, don't.
I'll just-
Dad,
I hate calculus. Oh my god, what if your parents walked in? I wouldn't do that again. Hello, mister. Hot potatoes! Hot potatoes, anyone?
Hot potato Martha. It's getting a little steamy here too, huh?
Oh yeah, well the space heater must be way too hot or something.
It's the ovens, probably. From all the baking.
Christmas markets are really warm places actually.
It's 2 degrees below zero.
Oh.
Outside.
Yeah.
I love your stand. I come every year.
Thank you.
Well, it's Christmas, and I want to be in love.
Margaret's really helping out with the boxing, and she's better than I am.
Okay. Just behave yourself.
Okay.
Next step, your mother and I have a lot of work to do.
Good.
We've got quotas.
Okay.
Those don't sell themselves.
We'll be boxing and wrestling away.
Ha! My kneecap.
You remember I love my
Me too. I don't need your time.
Matter of fact, that might
Be my guest.
look, courtship month.
Hot potatoes? Hot potatoes, anyone?
Martha, meet old wine Jimmy.
Hey, Jimmy.
Old wine Jimmy.
Hey, Mo. Why
There you go.
want a hot potato?
I don't need anything of that.
Go ahead, Jimmy. Tell her how you feel about her.
Yeah,
Is that a mic stand?
yeah, I was just gonna sing some songs.
I think he had a few words for you. He wanted to tell you exactly how he felt about you.
I just wanted to
No
say,
way.
Why don't you go ahead and tell her, old wine Jimmy, exactly what you referred to her
It's
as?
Christmas, and it's going to be a song.
I was just gonna say that I like chives on my hot potatoes with the sour cream.
You gonna beat around the bush?
You do that real good, and I like. Thank you.
He calls you hot potato Martha.
Now let.
He calls you hot potato Martha
How? My kneecap.
because
Oh,
you sell hot potatoes.
because I sell hot potatoes, I get it, yeah. Just like how he's called mulled wine Jimmy.
Yeah.
Because he sells mulled wine.
Oh, you sell it?
I have been known from time to time to sell more wine.
I like chives on my potatoes.
What?
I like chives on my potatoes.
Stop following me,
Look,
okay?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. I feel like I keep on saying the wrong thing. I didn't know how to make this right. I like you. I like Jeremy. I think Jeremy looks adorable.
Yeah, definitely you like Jeremy more than you like me. I can tell. Come here, it's...
I don't even know what to say to that. That's clearly a different kind of liking. I like him in like a dog way. I like you in a neighborly
Yeah, but
way.
you don't... Yeah, okay, the neighborly way. I get it.
Hot potatoes, hot potatoes.
What's wrong with the liking? What do you want me to say?
I mean, it's Christmas. I want to fall in love. Okay? That's what I want. Nothing else. It's full of these little things that presidents
Look, I
have.
just.
How-
My
Jeremy, bad boy. No, mister. You come here and smell that kneecap. Stay. Okay? Are you okay?
No, my fucking kneecap!
Sorry. We can call the sorry, I'm calling first aid people, first responders.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Jeremy just and yeah, I'm gonna do both things at the same time. I'll call.
Oh, for
Yeah,
fuck's sake.
yeah. I'll call.
Can someone help?
What?
I'm sorry.
Oh, God damn it! Everybody's in love. Jeremy. Hey,
No one's ever said that to me before. I have said it to other people though. I just want to be honest.
You know what the first responders are?
Yeah, well, my dad is the one who runs the tent. He's just around front. He's selling.
Okay, out front. So you like someone before?
Yeah, but it wasn't like you. I like
you too.
Shut up!
The market is really getting more and more aggressive these years.
Let's go drink some more.
Yes!
Oh, is that how it's gonna be?
Yeah, try some of my potato.
Yeah? Well, I've got something to tell you.
Okay.
Sweet potato, Martha. Whatever.
Jeremy! Oh my God! Jeremy! You smell that hot potato! You smell that hot potato! Come, Jeremy!
Bring it back to the lamp. He seemed to like that.
I need to go!
I'm gonna ask you about this later, Tony.
I'm gonna ask you about a lot of things later.
None of your disgrace. Nobody speaks to hot potato motorcycle like that. Shut the fuck up! I got
I'm here! It's gonna be okay!
You're no longer my manager,
You don't get to say that.
dude.
I get to say that. You're no longer
Hot potato, Martha.
under my command.
That's what fucks up me!
You. I know you don't know me, but I've been watching you from through the hot potatoes for many months.
Sound like a stalker.
This is a one-time deal. It's yes or no, and then it's the road for me.
Oh, look, there's carolers.
Okay, I'll do those things.
You've been gone forever!
Totally, I'm here!
You're gonna be okay, man.
Can someone do something?
Yeah.
Or get that fucking gun away from me, Jesus!
Jeremy. Good boy. Good boy.
Is there someone not drunk who can help me?
I am drunk. I am also the medical attendant.
And you
God damn it! Come on! Come on! Get a room! You're supposed to be boxing shit up!
Sorry? Some guy sang me a song and then another one asked me to marry him. I don't know what to do.
Does everyone just think about fucking around here?
Seriously, it's Christmas!
Thank you guys so much. That's the end of the show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. That was I think maybe our most experimental one yet. So that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this one. Any announcements?
Well, there's shows here all the time. Every Friday there's improv. Sundays and Mondays there's improv. Thursdays there's improv jam, open to everybody who wants to come up.
Saturdays too.
Saturdays too. There's improv.
Yes.
Okay.
Some Saturdays, but there's also
There's also other
There's
shows
plenty of
like
shows.
stand up and sketch.
there's a program.
There's a
There's a program out you can actually read. But thank you all so much for coming, and I hope you liked it and share it to others.
Sure, guys.
And since it's after 10, not like when we did our antics out there, you cannot be shouting or anything or even talking out there. If you want to grab a beer, then maybe like move your conversation to that corner and then come back for another beer.
Yeah.
And that's it. Thank you very much.